Nintendo believed the 3DS was a failure at launch. President at the time, Satoru Iwata, took a 50% pay cut in his salary along with other executives because of how poorly the 3DS sold during its release. But as time went on and the price of the system decreased, people started realizing how special the 3DS was. So I thought it would be fun to discuss a handful of underrated 3DS games that I personally really enjoy and I recommend you to try out. Starting off with Metroid Prime Federation Force. Back in 2016 when this released, people were pretty pissed off. It had been over 6 years since the last Metroid game, which wasn't a great one, and most fans didn't want a multiplayer Metroid shooter, which is a shame because the game's really good, it just released at an awful time. The core gameplay of Federation Force is that it's a first-person shooter that has you playing as one of the 4 Galactic Marines. You use the motion controls and the right analog aiming stick to shoot your way through different missions and kill space pirates. Each location is different and I never found the gameplay too repetitive, so although this isn't the Metroid game many wanted, it's still a fun game to check out, especially if you're looking for a shooter. Next up we have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Shadow Wars. This game dropped as a launch title with the 3DS and it uses a turn-based battle system similar to games like Fire Emblem and Advance Wars. You control different ghost soldiers that all have their own stats that decide how many spaces they can move and shoot. There are a lot of different elements to this game, such as holding high ground, supporting soldiers, and remembering that all soldiers can shoot back during combat. Shadow Wars is a solid title that got overlooked by many, so if you enjoy tactical shooters like XCOM, this is definitely one you should check out. Moving along, we have Zombie Panic in Wonderland. This one's an eShop only game that strongly resembles arcade games like House of the Dead and Virtual Cop. It's a tough shooter that requires you to aim using the bottom touchscreen, the circle pad to move the character around, and the shoulder buttons to jump and dodge left and right. The game has a boss at the end of each level and some awesome music to go along with it. Zombie Panic in Wonderland is a tough as nails shooter that deserves more attention, so if you enjoy these kind of games, I definitely recommend you check this one out. Next up is Dream Trigger 3D. Now I was hesitant to put this one on the list because it's not for everyone. Dream Trigger is a shooter that's very different from pretty much everything else. For starters, the enemies are all invisible and you have to reveal them by touching the bottom touchscreen. Once you do that, you'll then be able to shoot them on the top screen. It takes some practice to get used to the odd mechanics of Dream Trigger, but once you get the game figured out, it's a lot of fun. Dream Trigger also has very good 3D visuals and a multiplayer score attack mode, so there's definitely some replayability here. So if this game sounds intriguing to you at all, I definitely recommend you check it out. The next game on this list is Trip Saga. If you didn't know what Trip is, just think about an 80s aesthetic mixed in with rhythm music and modern game design. This collection on the 3DS contains 6 Trip titles that range from the fan favorite runner game mode all the way to the more unknown ones like Fate. Each one does a great job at displaying these systems 3D, so although I usually have my 3D slider set to off, for this game I actually leave it on. If you're a fan of rhythm games, this is a title worth playing. And the next game is Cursed Castilla EX. This game heavily bases itself off the Ghouls and Goblins series, and off first glance, many probably think Capcom made it, but it was actually made by a single coder from Spain. The game itself is a side-scroller platformer that is both brutal and rewarding in its gameplay. This is one of those games where you're gonna die a lot and you're gonna have to learn from your mistakes, but the game is never unfair and it does give you unlimited continues for players who might struggle with platforming. All in all, Cursed Castilla on the 3DS does a great job at incorporating 3D visual effects and making it feel like you're playing it on an arcade cabinet. It's truly a game you have to experience for yourself, so if platformers are your cup of tea, definitely check this one out. And well, that wraps up my recommendations for now. I've got a lot of other 3DS games I'd recommend, so in the future, I'll probably make another list of hidden 3DS games that I don't see many people playing. So with all that said, I want to thank you for watching this far. Please subscribe as it really does help this channel, and I will see you later. Bye.